Good morning. And let me begin with a confession that may sound strange coming from someone who talks for a living. The most important thing I have to share with you cannot be put into words. It isn't a doctrine. It isn't a technique. It is the living nearness of that which Scripture simply names I am. We can circle it with language. We can point to it with metaphors. But the thing itself arrives, if it arrives, in the hush beneath our speaking. And so this morning I am going to use words the way you use kindling, not to feed on forever, but to make a little flame, and then to sit still in the warmth that is not of our making. Now, I know the friction that rises even as we say this. Friends and family hear that we are a praying people, and immediately they picture petition. Would you ask the Lord to heal this? Would you pray for more supply? Would you please talk to God about my boy overseas? And we love them, we feel the tug, and then this teaching says to us, as it once said to me in a night I will never forget, stop asking, stop trying to inform omniscience, stop attempting to move the immovable. And there is a catch in the throat right there, isn't there? Because we have all been trained by pulpits and by panic to equate prayer with pleading. We have treated prayer as if it were a telegram to a reluctant office. Expedite the shipment. Rush delivery. And when someone says, put down the list, it sounds unfeeling. It isn't. It is the only feeling that finally heals. So we come to the core question. If God is the only power, if God fills all space, if, as the Master said, your Father knoweth what things ye have need of before ye ask, then what is prayer and what is it not? Prayer is not persuasion. It is not a lever on conditions. It is not a pious form of worry with religious vocabulary attached. Prayer is not the attempt to talk the infinite into performing finite errands. How could we possibly coax the sun to shine by complimenting it? And yet, for years, we thought that if we arranged the words handsomely enough, God would do us the courtesy of reconsidering. No. Prayer, as I have learned and failed and learned again, begins precisely where asking ends. It begins at the felt nearness of presence, the interior recognition that I am is here, that Spirit is not coming, not going, but is. Be still and know that I am God, not be still and get. Be still and know. You must, from this hour, take to yourself a simple refrain, a kind of password, not to open God, but to open you. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Say it, but do not say it to do anything to anything. Whisper it the way you would knock at a beloved's door, not to demand, only to announce that you are present to presence. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Where? Here. When? Now. And the liberty of which it speaks is not first liberty from this ache or that bill. It is liberty from the hypnotic belief that you must manage life apart from the life that is managing galaxies without breaking a sweat. In other words, every time the mind reaches for a petition, please fix, please change, you must bring it back gently but firmly to recognition. Spirit is here. Liberty is here. Use that as you would use your breath, not to manipulate the world, but to return to the center. Now, let us set the premise for all that will follow, because if you miss this, you will miss the whole road and still be busy walking. We are not going to try to do anything to conditions. All we are going to do is bring, and bring again, the realization of God's presence. If a body complains, we are not going to try to do anything to it. If a bank account murmurs, we are not going to try to do anything to it. When we attain the realization that Spirit is here, liberty will be found there. How? Why? Because where light enters, shadow has no argument to present. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. The word is not a syllable we intone. The word is that living current that begins to be felt when the mind has laid down its bargaining. I know that some of you are saying, but is it not natural to ask? Of course. It is human, and we are in it, but we need not be of it. The asking reflex has been bred into us by fear, by headlines, by family stories about what happens if you don't hustle the universe. Be gentle with yourself and uncompromising in your practice. Each time the desire to petition rises, do not scold, recognize. Turn again to the password of freedom, not as magic, not as a charm, but as a door into the stillness that reveals, I am is here. Say within yourself, Father, thou art here. Then let there be silence. If words come, let them be thanksgiving for God alone, not for anticipated outcomes. If nothing comes, let nothing come. Presence does not arrive by our clock. So this is the difficult word and the liberating one. Prayer begins where asking ends. It begins in the quiet courage to sit without agenda until that soft assurance, which is not emotion and not imagination, stirs like a tide within. And when it does, you will find that life begins to reconfigure itself without your pushing. But that is not our concern. Our concern is to realize God. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Let it be on your lips, but more, let it be the attitude of your heart. We will not attempt to move God, we will move into God. And having done that, we will rest. Now, let us be plain, because unless we see this without varnish, we will go right back to dressing our worry in church clothes. Petition, even when sincere, is a subtle way of saying, thou art not here. To ask for presence is to assume absence. To beg for supply is to assume separation from the source. To plead for help is to confess a power apart from life. And that is why petition exhausts you. It keeps you walking in circles around an empty throne of your own imagining. You do not ask the sun to rise at noon. You open the curtains. You do not solicit the ocean for wetness. You step in. So prayer, the prayer that is prayer, begins at the instant we stop bearing tales to God and start bearing witness to God. Lo, I am with you always is either the fabric of our practice or we are only talking. Recognition, then, is that inner turning which acknowledges, not with lips but with life, I am here. It is a pivot of awareness from the clatter of effects to the hush of cause. It is not a mental picture, not a sentence repeated to bully the universe. It is a soft, lucid noticing. God is. The kingdom is not out there in improved circumstances. The kingdom of God is within you when that is seen, not argued. Seen, something in us stops shouting and something deeper begins to hear. Be still and know that I am God. Not be still and tell God, be still and know. And how do we come honestly to recognition? By accepting the Christ standard for ourselves. I can of mine own self do nothing. There is the end of persuasion. The one who walked Galilee did not coax the Father into working overtime. He yielded. It is the Father within me, he doeth the works. In other words, no more spiritual salesmanship, no more metaphysical willpower, no more straining of the brain to push God across the line. We retire the personal engineer and enthrone awareness itself. We consent that the activity of spirit is the only actor on the stage, and we sit in the audience of our own heart until we feel that activity announce itself. Now, I know the temptation to make recognition into another mental project. You can collect ideas about God the way a hobbyist pins butterflies, labels, categories, beautifully arranged and utterly lifeless. Ideas are not presents. The alphabet is not a kiss. You can, if you wish, memorize 1,000 affirmations and still miss the thing itself because you never paused long enough to let silence speak. Recognition is awareness, not assertion. It is the difference between reading a menu and tasting the bread. And notice, please, once the taste is upon the tongue, the menu goes quiet by itself. You do not have to rebuke it. But what if I am sick? What if I am short of money? That is the voice that visits us at midnight, and I will not mock it. I have heard it in my own marrow. Only do not let your concern be for outcome. Do not let your concern be for the ache or for the arithmetic. Take no thought for your life, what ye shall eat. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Our practice remains the same. We are not going to try to do anything to it. We are not going to argue with symptoms or bargain with bills. We will bring and bring again the realization of God's presence. And we will let all else be the added things, for where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. And we will rest there quietly. This calls for integrity, the kind you can feel in your bones. The mind loves to smuggle in a little petition under the cloak of recognition. Father, thou art here, now please. Do not play that game with yourself. When you say, I'm not trying to get well, you must mean it not as bravado, but as surrender. Sick or well, rich or poor, I am after God alone. Give up gratitude for outcomes. Let gratitude rest in God. Then, wonderfully, the urge to clutch at results begins to loosen. And in that very loosening, the door you were pounding opens of itself because you have stepped out of the hall of mirrors. So from this hour, and I do mean from this very hour, let us settle the non-negotiable that will save you years of going around the barn. You have, from this day forward, only one demonstration to make the realization of the presence of God. Not 2, not 10, not 1 for health and 1 for supply and 1 for the boy or the girl. 1. And if you will let that sink from your ears down into your bones, you will find that it simplifies everything. We are not going to try to do anything to the body. We are not going to try to do anything to the job. We are not going to try to do anything to the relationship. We are not going to grease the hinges on the outer door. All we are going to do is bring and bring again the realized presence into consciousness. When that is present, liberty is present. In whatever way liberty needs to appear. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. There is our password and there is our procedure. How? Why? Because the outer friends is a shadow. It has no independent law. Put a candle behind a figure and the wall begins to show the silhouette. Move the candle, deepen its flame, and the shadows dance and reconfigure of their own accord. You do not have to run to the wall with chalk and try to usher the silhouette into a better posture. You change the light. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Added unto you. Do you hear the grammar? Added, not achieved. Added, not argued into existence. The body, the bank book, the phone call from a prodigal, these are the things. They are not your demonstration. Your demonstration is the kingdom first, the recognition of I am, here and now. Let me open a page of my own story for a moment, not because my story is important, but because it is the only proof I can offer that will not at first sound like theory. In a certain season of my life, the lights went out on a whole theater of pleasures. It was not heroic. I did not decide to become pious. Something shifted within a change of consciousness, and the taste for cocktails went. The old Friday nights with bridge hands and gossip went. The matinees I thought I could not live without. They, too, fell away. I still lived, but not in the same atmosphere. They could not follow me in there, and neither could I go back. And now here is the part you must mark. None of that was accomplished by willpower. I did not do anything to my calendar, to my rings of friends, to my appetite. All of this was brought about not by any other change than a change of consciousness. When the inner light adjusted, the outer silhouettes redrew themselves without my permission and without my resistance. That is causation in this work. So when you come to me, or go within yourself with a throbbing knee or a dwindling ledger, do not let your concern be for the knee or for the ledger. Do not let your concern be for the phone call that has not come. Let your concern be that before you rise, you have felt that surging of the Spirit within you. Let your concern be for God. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. Not stayed on results, stayed on thee. And yes, I know the trick of the mind. It says, oh, very good, I will stay on thee so that I can get my healing. No, that is bargaining dressed in a Sunday suit. That is the old appetite trying to smuggle itself into the sanctuary. Give it no quarter. When you say, I am not trying to get well, you will have to mean it. When you say, I am not trying to get rich, you will have to mean it. When you say, I am not trying to fix him or her, you will have to mean it. Because the moment you make God the means to your end, you have pushed the river and broken the vessel. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Do you see the contrast? The world's peace is the relief that comes when an arrangement suits you. The Christly peace is presence itself, which renders arrangement secondary. And here is another point where we must be very candid. Gratitude for healings, gratitude for checks in the mail, gratitude for a fine report card. These are a kindergarten of gratitude. They are not wrong. They are inevitable at the beginning. But you must not set up camp there. Give up gratitude for healing. Give up gratitude for increased supply. Give up gratitude for any form of what the world calls good. Not because good is bad, but because it steals your gaze. Let your gratitude be for God alone. Let your thanksgiving be that I am is here, that the word is present, that the breath is moving. Then if the knee forgets to hurt, if the ledger remembers to add, if the phone call arrives, say within yourself, Father, I thank thee that thou hearest me always, and return to silence. Do not bow down before the effect, worship the cause. You may protest, but isn't it irresponsible not to address conditions? Only if you are living under the law of 2 times 2 equals 5. Only if you believe that shadows are self-existent and that chalk on the wall can hold back the night. There is no law to 2 times 2 equals 5. It has no practitioner to defend it. So with discords, they are projections of a dimmed consciousness. Brighten the inner light and the error fades, not because you wrestled it, but because it has no law to sustain it in the presence of law. Be still and know that I am God. Not be busy and fix. Be still, know, and in that knowing, liberty appears where bondage advertised. How? Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. If you take that as a living password, you will discover that the door opens not by your pressure, but by recognition. So make this your rule and your comfort. We are not going to do anything to it. Let the words be on your lips when you feel the pull to meddle. We are not going to do anything to it. We are going to abide, to recognize, to be present to presence until that inner assurance rises, and then we will rest. I promise you, as one who has lost friends over this and found God in the loss, that life will reconfigure itself without your pushing. You will find yourself in the same address, the same body, the same city, and yet you will not be in the same atmosphere, in it but not of it. And the things that need to be added will be added, and the things that need to be subtracted will go, and you will not write a single letter to the manager of the universe. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. The word is not your syllables. The word is that inward quickening when the bargaining mind goes quiet. Let it be so with you. One demonstration only, presence, not results. Seek first, stay first, and allow all else to be added, not by panic nor by petition, but by the natural law of light and its shadows. And when you feel that peace, do not ask it for favors. Thank it for being itself, and sit a little longer. Now take this very verse and take it not as a motto for your wall, but as a living shibboleth for your heart. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. This is your password, not to open God, but to open you. At the first flicker of any claim, pain in the ankle, a red figure in the ledger, a headline that tightens the chest, do not rush to mend the shadow. Pause. Let the hand rest on the doorknob of that verse. Whisper it inwardly. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Not loudly, not excitedly, but the way you would knock at a beloved's door in the night, gentle, certain, expecting no explanation, only presence. And say under your breath, if you must add a phrase, not to fix, but to know thee. Because, friends, that is its function. Scripture is a doorway, not a lever. It is a lamp unto your feet, not a crowbar against conditions. You are not trying to pry the universe into compliance. You are stepping back into the light in which compliance has no meaning. How to use it? Simply and with integrity. When a problem presents itself, first say within, Father, thou art here. Then let the password form on the inside of your lips. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Repeat it softly, without frenzy, as if you were letting a tide turn of its own accord. And while you repeat it, lay aside the object. Do not let your concern be for health. Do not let your concern be for supply. Do not let your concern be for the person across the table. Let your concern be that before you rise, you have felt even the faintest stirring, the surging of the Spirit within you. We are not going to try to do anything to the condition. All we are going to do is bring the realization of God's presence. So pair the verse with surrender, not to fix, but to know thee. If the mind slips in a sly little bargain, yes, yes, I'll know thee, so that the knee will stop. Catch it, smile at it, and return to the clean intention. Be still and know that I am God. Not be still and get, as you repeat, you will notice sometimes quickly, sometimes after a few minutes, that the words begin to grow thin, like fog burning off at sunrise. The syllables that felt necessary start to feel almost too bulky for the delicate thing that is happening. That is your pivot. When you sense the quiet widening, when the inner noise drops a degree, stop speaking and listen. Let the words go as you would let a boat go when you have reached the shore. Sit in that receptive hush. It may be 10 seconds, it may be 5 minutes. Do not measure it, do not ask it to produce, just abide. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. That peace is self-evidencing. It does not require your commentary. If the mind begins to chatter again, you may lightly retake the password, not to start striving once more, but to knock again, and then again to fall silent. Back and forth, like breathing, password, hush, until the hush sustains itself. Now, understand this clearly so that you do not stumble over superstition. The verse has no magic in it as words. It does not act upon lungs or ledgers or leaders. It acts upon you, upon your attention, upon your consent to presence. In Him we live and move and have our being. The password turns you to that fact. In the light of that fact, error, which is only the 2 times 2 equals 5 of sense testimony, has nothing with which to argue. The shadow cannot resist the sun. It can only appear in the absence of it. So do not flog the shadow. Do not even look at it long. Take the verse as your handhold and let it swing you back to the center where God is all. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want is sweet. Be still and know is certain. But for this work, keep this one at the ready, like breath itself. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. It is your entrance sign, your home key, your reminder that we are in it but not of it. And a word about honesty. If you take the password to get a result, you will feel strain, and the very strain will reveal your motive. Do not condemn yourself. Just start over. Say quietly, not to fix, but to know thee, and mean it. If there is no immediate sense of presence, that is not failure. The verse has done its work when it has turned your face toward God, whether you feel anything or not. Return as often as needed, at the sink, in traffic, in bed at 2 a.m. Each time the repetition thins into receptivity, stop and listen. That listening is the prayer. That listening is the place of liberty. And in that place we rest. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there, right there, is liberty. Now we must name the culprit, because unless we call it by its right name, we will go on being bluffed by it and calling the bluff piety. Behind the asking reflex, this itch to inform God and to clutch at forms, there is what I have called mass hypnotism, a world belief that whispers from cradle to grave, that life is in money, in body, in approval, in headlines, and therefore you had better ask, you had better grasp, you had better fear. And it doesn't come with horns and a tail. It comes with lullabies and billboards and very respectable conversations at the club. It comes as the family doctrine. In this house we watch the dollars. In this family we all have weak lungs. In this business you must work 18 hours or you'll be left behind. In other words, it comes as suggestion, unexamined, unanimous suggestion, until even religion becomes a wing of the advertising department for lack and disease. Pray hard so that God will do something about this terrible power called sickness. Ask fervently so that God will move this mighty mountain called debt. And we do not see that in the very asking we have. Announce belief in a second power. Some years ago, but not too quick for the feeling, popcorn and soda sales jumped. That is one crude example, and I offer it because it gives you a picture. World belief is not content to sit on the billboard. It inserts itself between the frames of your thinking. 100 years ago it did it through war posters, loose lips, sink ships, they are coming to get you unless you give more. And friends, I am not quarreling with patriotism. I am pointing to technique. The technique is suggestion repeated until consciousness falls asleep, and the unseen line gets written on the tablet. Life is in the arm of flesh. Then when the need twinges, the tablet speaks. Ask before it gets worse. When the ledger reddens, the tablet speaks. Beg before it runs out. And all of it, every syllable, is the echo of hypnotism. Now, how do you disarm it? First, by identity, because as long as you believe the tablet is you, you will take its dictation. You must come to the place where you can look at the body and at the dollars and at the face in the mirror and say, gently but with authority, this is not me, this is my body. I am invisible. I am consciousness, and my life is hid with Christ in God. Who told thee that thou wast naked? That question from Genesis unmasks the whole pretense. Who told you that life is in the cells? Who told you that safety is in the bank? Who told you that honor is in the applause? Be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. The world says, you are your pulse and your paycheck. The Christ says, I am the life. Which voice will you recognize as your own? Then you must see, and not merely repeat after me. that what we call disease, lack, danger, these are not self-sustained powers. They are the 2 times 2 equals 5 of collective consent. They have no law to maintain them. There is no principle in heaven or on earth that can make 2 times 2 equals 5 stick for a single second in the presence of understanding. You can hire a lawyer for it, you can hire a doctor for it, you can put 100 signatures beneath it, but when the fact stands up in the room, the error collapses of its own weightlessness. So with discord. Thou couldst have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above. If it is not of God, it is not power. That is not bravado, that is recognition. And when recognition dawns, the asking voice loses its authority, because you are standing in a light in which there is nothing to ask about. But you will see how sly the hypnotism is. It will take even this truth and make a project out of it. Very good. I will now ask God to remove hypnotism. Do you see the boomerang? Petition is the voice of the spell. Recognition is the voice of freedom. Petition says, something out there, fix something out there. Recognition says, Father, thou art here. Petition declares, I am a separate person in a dangerous universe. Recognition witnesses, in him we live and move and have our being. Petition agitates the water. Recognition lets the sea be calm and discovers it was only wind. So when the old reflex pipes up, quick ask, smile at it as you would at a wind-up toy that has run to the edge of the table, and do not push it back into play. Whisper your password, not to fix, but to know, and then hush. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. If Spirit is here, liberty is here. If liberty is here, what is there to plead for? You will ask, but what about the facts? The report, the X-ray, the empty drawer? I answer with the same refusal to be bullied by shadow. We are not going to try to do anything to the report. We are not going to try to do anything to the X-ray. We are not going to try to do anything to the drawer. We will do the only thing we are equipped to do, bring, and bring again, the realization of God's presence. In that presence, error shows itself to be no thing trying to be something. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper is not a promise that iron cannot be forged. It is the revelation that against realized presence, weapons find no target, because the thee has been recognized as not a body to be pierced, but a life to which spirit is all. You can be in it, but not of it. You can read the report and not be read by it. You can count the dollars and not be counted by them. And here is a practical measure for this very hour. When the mind begins its chant, ask, 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 answer with identity and recognition. Say within, I am not this fear, I am not this appetite. I am the awareness in which they appear and disappear, and I abide in God. Then take your password as you would take a handrail in the dark. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Let the words turn your face. Let the realization dawn even faintly. And when it does, notice how the atmosphere in you shifts. The same headlines exist, the same weather, perhaps the same pain note, but the asking voice has grown thin like fog under a rising sun. That is awakening. That is authority returning to where it belongs. The urge to ask is a hypnotic echo. It cannot survive the sound of your true name spoken within, I am. And in that name we rest. Now comes the integrity test. And it is gentle and it is unyielding. If you listen closely, you will hear, even in your best moments, the whisper of a bargain slipping under the sanctuary door. Father, thou art here. Now please. That now please is the old appetite wearing a halo. Do not condemn yourself for it. Just see it. Because the moment we use presence as a lever, we are back to petition in a new suit, and that very strain that creeps into the chest is the proof that we have stepped off the altar and picked up the tools again. Ye cannot serve God in mammon. You cannot serve God in results. If God is another method to get what you had already decided upon, you have kept the throne and hired the deity as staff. That will not do in this way. Presence is not hired. Presence is Lord. So we come to the vow, and you will, at some hour, have to say it so simply that the whole of you hears it. I am not trying to get well. I am not trying to get rich. I am not trying to change him or her or them. Sick or well, rich or poor, wanted or unwanted, my object is spiritual awareness. And when you say that, you will have to mean it, not as defiance, as surrender. Not my will, but thine be done. Do not let your concern be for health. Do not let your concern be for supply. Do not let your concern be for the shape of tomorrow. Let your concern be that before you rise, you have felt that surging of the Spirit within you. One demonstration only, the realization of God's presence. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. We are after that peace, not the world's arrangements. The arrangements may follow. They may not. We will not make our worship conditional. And here, too, is the end of spiritual bribery. Give up gratitude for healings. Give up gratitude for checks in the mail. Give up gratitude for any form of what the world parades as good. I know that sounds like ingratitude. It is not. It is the purification of gratitude. Enter into his gates with thanksgiving, yes, but thanksgiving for God, not for the gates, not for the ornaments hanging upon them. Be grateful for presence alone. Say within, Father, I thank thee that thou art, and stop there. Otherwise you will be like a child who kisses his mother only when the cookie jar opens. We do not barter with the infinite. We consent to it. We let it be itself in us, and we worship the cause rather than circling around the effects with incense. But what if nothing changes? That is the specter that tries to frighten us back into dealing with shadows. Hear me. Then God is the life and law here. If the silhouette on the wall refuses for an hour or a season to align with your hopes, that is the hour to stand in the furnace the way the three Hebrews stood. Our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us. But if not, we will not bow to the image. Though he slay me, yet will I trust in him. That is not fatalism. It is freedom. It is the end of being blackmailed by appearances. In it, but not of it. This is not me. This is my body. I am invisible, spirit, living, moving, having being in God. And if for a moment the sense testimony clamors, remember the arithmetic, there is no law to 2 times 2 equals 5. Error cannot sustain itself in the presence of law. So we hold to presence, not to the clock, not to the outcome. Integrity is the condition in which assurance is born. Presence will not be used. Presence uses. You cannot take the password where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty, and jam it against a circumstance as if it were a pry bar. You can only speak it long enough to turn and then be still. When, in honesty, you lay down the last little now please, something happens unannounced. The breath lengthens of its own accord. The need to speak thins. A quiet comes that is not earned and is not purchased. That is assurance. You will know it because it makes more words unnecessary. And from that hush, life will, in its time, reconfigure without your pushing. But even this is not your aim. Your aim is God. Be still and know, where the Spirit of the Lord is here, now there is liberty. And in that liberty we rest. Now, because we must not be vague about the road we are walking, let me lay out for you, as plainly as I can, the stages by which most of us pass and the signposts by which you can tell where you are so that you do not mistake the vestibule for the sanctuary. At the beginning, there is what I call the denial stage. Do not despise it. It keeps you from fainting on the battlefield. The first discovery is that the report, the symptom, the shortage is not law. It is at worst a 2 times 2 equals 5 written on the blackboard of sense. So the beginner learns to say, no, there is no power apart from God. This is not a thing. I refuse it. Authority. And sometimes, wonderfully, the cloud passes. The pain eases. The check arrives. You see at once why this stage is so seductive. It works some of the time, but you must also see why it cannot be our home. It is still mental handling. It is still, if we are honest, me doing something to it. We are still pushing on the shadow. Do not let your concern be to make better denials. They are first aid, not a life. Be still and know that I am God is not the same as be busy and argue. Denial clears the deck. It does not sail the ship. Then we enter, most of us, what I have called the mental life. And this is an improvement in atmosphere. We trade panic for principle. We read, we listen, we think well, we cultivate spiritual ideas, we use affirmations more gently, with gratitude. We begin to sense that the kingdom is within. There are more results now, fewer emergencies, more supply, some healings that hold. But watch closely. Dependence still rides on the back of outcomes. We are tranquil when the figures are black, agitated when they are red. We love God in the morning and forget Him at news time. We congratulate consciousness when the phone call goes our way and interrogate it when it does not. This stage builds a good mind. It does not yet birth a free heart. It lives, as it were, on clear weather. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, is not yet the banner. Our peace is still very much as the world giveth when arrangements suit us. We are kinder, yes, but we still cast sideways glances at results to confirm that our prayer is working. That, friends, is a clue. The mental life steadies you. It has not yet liberated you. Now, the third stage, this is initiation, and it costs what it costs. It is surrender. It is the hearing of that old stark summons. Leave your nets. Leave your nets of mental prowess. Leave your nets of pleasant outcomes. Leave the net of needing proof. Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. How? By facing, without anesthesia, the death of material sense. This is not morbid. It is the end of superstition. You come to the place where you can say, with a straight face and a warm heart, I'm not trying to get well and mean it. I'm not trying to get rich and mean it. I'm not trying to fix or to be fixed and mean it, not as bravado, but because God is no longer your means. God is your end. In this stage, we take our password. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty, not as a tool to move things, but as the doorway to stillness where things have no agenda. We sit down inside. We do not try to do anything to it. We be still. And sometimes, yes, that stillness feels like standing in a room where the furniture of our old securities has been removed. The mind will say, quick, ask, do not take no thought for your life is the directive here. You do not bargain with this room. You abide. The mark of maturity, then, is not eloquence, nor is it a ledger of demonstration. The mark is your willingness, and finally, your capacity to sit in unadorned quiet without petition, without mental embroidery, without peeking at the dial to see if the needle has moved, if you can be content to say within, Father, thou art here, and then let the words fall of themselves and let the hush widen, you are entering the third degree. In him we live and move and have our being, becomes atmosphere, not quotation. You find you can be in it but not of it, watching headlines, reading reports, feeling the body's weather, and none of it drafts you into panic because your allegiance has crossed a border. And what is the fruit of this surrender? Assurance. Not a triumphal shout, a deep, almost whispering, it is so. It does not come because you have argued. It arises because silence has borne witness in you to itself. It is the interior amen. When it comes, words end by their own irrelevance. You do not pronounce the benediction pronounces you. You find, perhaps to your surprise, that you have no more questions. The asking voice has been, for that moment, dissolved. Thou wilt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee. That is it. The mind is stayed not on results, not on proof, but on thee. And peace evidences itself. And out of that assurance, life, unpressed and unpushed, begins to rearrange the shadows as it must, and you do not supervise it. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty, and in that liberty we rest. Now let us do it together, not as a theory, but as the simplest act of living. Wherever you are, kitchen chair, train seat, edge of the bed, let the body be at ease. We are not going to do anything to it. We are not going to choreograph breathing or pose thoughts. We are going to posture the heart. And the posture is this: Father, not to get, but to know thee. Say it within, not loudly, just truthfully. Not to get, but to know thee. Let that be the intention that empties the hands of their little shopping lists so that something greater than hands can hold you. Now, very softly, take your password. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Breathe it like a tide moving in. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Do not use it as a pry bar, use it as a doorknob. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Say it 2 or 3 times, each time as if you were knocking at a beloved door, and then allow it to fade. Let the words grow thin, like a mist that melts as the sun gains. We are not going to add petitions. We are not going to stack affirmations on top. We are going to cease speech, outer and inner, and be attentively receptive. Be still and know that I am God. That is the instruction now. Be still, not rigid, not tight, but inwardly quiet. And know not by logic, but by recognition. How will you know? We are not waiting for fireworks. We are waiting, if we can even call it waiting, for a subtle alteration of atmosphere within, a softening behind the eyes, a loosening across the chest, the sense that the air has become kinder, a warmth low in the belly, or simply the end of the need to keep repeating yourself. Sometimes it is vivid. Sometimes it is as slight as the first turn of a tide you would miss if you were talking. If you feel nothing at all, do not be bluffed. In him we live and move and have our being. That is fact, whether or not emotion visits. You will notice within a minute or two companions arrive, boredom and fear. Boredom whispers, this is nothing. Do something. Fear hisses, hurry, ask before it gets worse. Let them talk. Smile at them as at 2 children who have not yet learned the house rules. We are not going to try to do anything to them. We are not going to shush them with willpower. We are going to keep the posture of the heart. Father, not to get, but to know thee. If the mind grows noisy, you may gently take the password again. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty, And as soon as it has swung your face back toward God, let it go and listen. Password hush, password hush. Back and forth until the hush sustains itself without your hand. Do not measure. Do not glance at the clock in your head. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. The world gives by schedule and transaction. This peace gives by presence. Sit in receptive quietude as you would sit by a lake and watch the ripples smooth without poking the water. If an image arises, the face you wanted to fix, the letter you hoped would come, place it gently on the altar of silence and do not pick it up again. Do not let your concern be for health. Do not let your concern be for supply. Do not let your concern be for the pleasing of any person. Let your concern be that before you rise, you have known even a trace of nearness, the surging of spirit within you. That is all. And now there will come a moment, quickly or after several minutes, when you sense a movement not of your making, the breath lengthens of its own accord, the shoulders drop without your order, an unearned quiet gathers itself like a cloak about you. Perhaps a warmth travels upward like a slow sunrise. Do not pounce on it. Do not name it. Do not ask it for favors. This is the inner tide of presence beginning to move. Our work is to abide until that movement takes the field. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. The temple is this very awareness. The earth to keep silence is every anxious atom of your human will. Keep silence. Let it work. We are not going to try to do anything to it. If during this the old reflex startles and says, quick, say something for the knee, for the ledger, for the call, let your answer be only recognition. Father, thou art here. And again the password. Not as magic, but as turning. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Then drop the words and listen. If nothing seems to happen, remember the farmer. He does not tug on the seed. He sleeps and rises night and day, and the seed should spring and grow up, he knoweth not how. You cannot apply force to God. You can only yield. Yield then past the itch to help, past the fret of being inefficient, past the ghostly fear that you are wasting time. There is no waste in silence. There is only the rediscovery that time never held you. Sometimes you will feel the assurance while you are seated. Sometimes it will steal upon you later at the sink, in the store, on the sidewalk, because you consented earlier. Do not run after it. Do not tell it where to appear. Consent, and consent again. And if tears come, let them come. If laughter bubbles up without a joke, let it be. If nothing at all seems to happen but a clean, bare quiet, receive that as gladly as if angels had sung. The kingdom of God is within you, not in sensation, not in spectacle, but within. Our task is recognition. When you feel that the period has ripened, that you have sat long enough for this, sitting close it as you opened it, with integrity, no vows to change conditions, no little now, please, only gratitude for God. Say within, simply, Father, I thank thee that thou art, and stop there. Do not add a shopping list to the benediction. Rise slowly. Do not test the knee. Do not check the inbox for a sign. Carry the hush like a fragrance that goes where you go without advertisement. If the hush fades, as it will come again at the next hour. Presence is not a project, it is life. We are not trying to get well, to get rich, to get out. We are consenting to be in it. And in that consent, the byproducts will be added in their season without your pushing and without your bargain. This is the practice. It is simple enough for a child and final enough for a saint. Be still without asking until the inner tide of presence is felt, however faintly, and then rest in it. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Enter with it. Let it fade. Cease speech. Attend. Abide beyond boredom and fear, and close with thanksgiving for God alone. In that way, we discover, not as rumor but as experience, that prayer begins where asking ends, and that life, this very life, reconfigures as the shadow of a light we did not create and do not control. Be still and know, and in that knowing, rest. Now, when the hush has settled and the syllables have, as we said, grown too heavy for the delicacy of what is happening, how do you know that prayer has fulfilled itself? By a sign so quiet you could miss it if you were listening for cymbals. It is that inward certainty that says without drama and without reason, it is finished. Not because a doorbell rang or a message chimed, not because the pulse changed or the ledger brightened, but because a weight you did not know you were carrying has been put down. The breath lengthens of its own accord. Thoughts, which were milling around the gate, seem to find their seats. The will, which had its hand on the lever, takes its hand away. If there are words, they are only, Father, thou art. And even those fall back into the sea of listening. You have not argued. You have consented. And the consent produces an interior, amen, that needs no witness outside to validate it. Now be very clear about this, because, in other words, the mind will try to counterfeit it with emotion. Assurance is not excitement. It is not that little rush that comes when the phone finally rings, and it is not even the exhale of relief after a clever thought has soothed you. Those have their hour, and then they go hunting for new proof. Assurance does not hunt. My peace I give unto you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Not as the world giveth meaning, not as relief from a pressure, not as a bargain kept, not as the body behaving or the banker smiling. This peace is of another order. It is grounded stillness. It does not jump up and down. It abides. It is free of adjectives. It asks for nothing further because it recognizes that in presence, nothing is lacking. You could sit in it and forget what you were sitting for. That forgetting is your clue, and you will notice the practical effects at once, not as fireworks, but as atmosphere. Fear loosens its grip like a hand that suddenly remembers it was holding on to nothing. Urgency dissolves. The stopwatch in the chest stops ticking. The problem, which a moment ago occupied center stage with a spotlight and a drum roll, finds the curtain drawing of its own accord. You can look at the report and it does not leap at you. You can feel the ache and it is somehow only a sensation in a wider room. You can be in it but not of it. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty, not later, not if, but here, in this interior weather. Liberty means you are no longer being moved by the winds of appearance. You are resting in the law of being, and the winds, if they blow, blow around you. What shall you do then? Nothing to it. Do not return to asking. Do not get up from the altar and immediately run back to check the dial to see if the needle has moved. Keep the silence lightly like a warm shawl about the shoulders and go about your day. Wash the dishes in it, answer the letter in it, walk down the street in it. If someone asks for your opinion, you need not preach. Simply let the hush do the speaking or the pausing. Be still and know that I am God does not end when you rise from the chair. It becomes the underside of your hours. And please do not try to test it. Testing belongs to doubt. You do not plant a seed and then keep digging to see if it is sprouting. You leave it in its law. Of course, the mind will try to reopen the case. It will say, yes, but what if this doesn't hold? Or perhaps one more affirmation would secure it. That is the old supervisor reporting for duty. Smile at it and answer if you answer at all with the same simplicity, Father, thou art, or if the word has come, it is finished, then be quiet again. If, after a time, the atmosphere thins and you find the hush has drifted, do not scold yourself. Just return to the password long enough to turn and then fall back into listening. But do not chase the feeling. Do not manufacture. Assurance cannot be produced by will. It comes as presence witnesses to itself. More than once I have risen from the chair with no outer token to hang hope upon, and yet by evening the furniture of the day had rearranged itself without my hand upon a single piece. And yes, there have been hours when nothing on the surface moved at all, and still the great movement had taken place. The sense of a second power had dissolved, which is the greater miracle. When the arithmetic is understood, 2 times 2 simply is 4, and the false 5, however boldly chalked, fades because it has no law. Assurance is that understanding dawning not as a formula, but as felt truth. So let this be your measure. Assurance is the inner peace that makes more words unnecessary. When it comes, stop speaking. When it abides, walk softly in it. My peace I give unto you. That peace is the marker. Where it is, liberty is. Where liberty is, prayer is finished for the moment, and in that finish we rest. Now, if assurance is the end of asking, how then shall we walk among the matters that so quickly draft us? Body, money, people, work, without falling again under their spell. Gently, we begin with the body. Do not fear it and do not flatter it. Who told thee that thou wast naked is still the divine question. This is not me, this is my body. I am invisible, living, moving, having, being in God, and the body is the instrument through which life shows a measure of its music. Therefore, bathe it, feed it, rest it, clothe it, do not worship it, and do not war with it. The life is more than meat, and the body is more than raiment. Do not let your concern be for health. Let your concern be to feel the surging of the Spirit within you. We are not going to try to do anything to it. All we are going to do is bring the realization of God's presence, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty, liberty from morbidity and vanity alike. If a twinge comes, or a report arrives with a frown on it, the standard move is not to wrestle, it is to turn. Father, thou art here. Password. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Say it just long enough to enter, then hush. In that hush, the body is re-seen, not a god to appease, not an enemy to conquer, but a servant that reflects the law of its life. Now to money, which is perhaps the most persuasive hypnotist of our time. Do not mistake the counters for supply. Dollars are pictures. Supply is the movement of spirit as ideas, capacities, right place, right timing. The world, by which I mean the mass thinking that runs headlines and heartbeats, has persuaded us that figures on a screen confer safety, that deficits prophesy doom. This is 2 times 2 equals 5, chalked on a very large blackboard. There is no law to fear in it. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Added, not chased, not begged added, as shadows follow substance. Do not let your concern be for supply, let it be for realization. And then, very practically, you will find yourself moved to make the call, send the letter, answer the opportunity that was beside you all the while, but you could not see it through the glare of worry. The bill on the table is not to be despised and not to be deified. Bring presence to it. Do not try to do anything to it. Recognize God here. In that recognition, you will watch the tyranny of numbers release you, and the numbers in time fall into their place, because the authority behind them has been seen to be God, not arithmetic. Relationships next, where we are most tempted to turn prayer into a private wrench to tighten other people. Do not. We are not in witchcraft. We are in worship. Do not pray to make him kind, her faithful, them agreeable. Judge not. What is that to thee? Follow thou me. Your task is to bring the realized presence into the space between. And as that light dawns, harmony reveals itself, or right separation is shown without bitterness. You cannot keep together what God has not joined. You cannot separate what God has joined. Let there be light, be your only speaking here. Do not let your concern be to fix personalities. Let your concern be to realize the one presence. In that, ancient grudges evaporate like dew, or two souls quietly bless one another and walk on by different paths without the old drama. This is liberty. You can be in it, but not of it. You can love without leash and release without rancor, because your center has shifted from human bargaining to divine being. And now work, vocation, livelihood, calling. Do not stoop beneath your stature and beg the universe for a job as if your being were an orphan. You are function seeking its expression. We do not get jobs. We witness function appearing as opportunity. Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. Leave your nets of frantic resume polishing long enough to realize presence. And then, in that hush, write the resume if you must, but not as a plea, rather as a description of how spirit is already moving as you. The phone rings at the right moment. The meeting that looked like nothing blooms. The door you had not even noticed stands ajar. This is not magic, it is order. Thou couldst have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above. When above becomes the atmosphere of your day, below arranges itself. Now, because we must be simple enough to do this on the pavement, let me give you the standard response, one response for every claim, whether it lifts its head as ache, invoice, quarrel, or pink slip. Pause, turn, password, hush. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Do not jam it against the circumstance as a lever. Speak it as a doorknob. Enter and be still. Be still and know that I am God. Wait until assurance rises that inner, it is so, which makes more words unnecessary. Then, if action is to be taken, it will be taken from peace, without clutching. If no action is given, rest and let the river move the boats. Presence first reinterprets every arena of life without making any of them our God. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Not the body, not the dollar, not the faces, however dear, not the desk, however meaningful. Give up gratitude for healings, for checks, for promotions, for reconciliations. Be grateful for God alone, and you will find quietly that body serves, money circulates, people stand in their right place, and work becomes the play of function, in it but not of it. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty, and in that liberty we rest. Let me bear witness now, because principles without footprints can leave you wondering if anyone has ever actually walked this road. In 1928, something happened for which I had not planned and for which I had no vocabulary. I was not trying to become holy. I was trying to become comfortable. But overnight, so to speak, the climate changed inside. I still lived, but not in the same atmosphere. The taste for the old amusements went out of me without a fight. Cocktails, bridge, the theater, none of these were enemies to be slain. They were simply, as it were, leaves that had fallen off a tree that had moved into a new season. I did not grit my teeth and renounce them. I discovered to my own surprise that the appetite had departed. Old things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. That text did not arrive as a sermon. It arrived as a fact. Now, with that, of course, came a price tag that was also a passport. Friends fell away, not with quarrels always, but with a baffled distance. Family asked, "What has gotten into you?" Invitations dwindled. The comfortable circles no longer fit. It was, for a while, a lonely hallway. They couldn't follow me in there, and I, as God is my witness, could not go back. Not because I had become superior, but because the air had changed and lungs breathe where there is oxygen. You can be in it, but not of it. I found that to be literal. I could sit at the same table, hear the same jokes, read the same headlines, and yet I was not reading them from the same place. And then, as surely as leaves fall, a deeper household formed around me, not of my choosing, but of consciousness. Whosoever shall do the will of my Father, the same as my brother and sister and mother. That became practical. A little band gathered, not because we liked the same restaurants, but because the same presence was our life. Now hear the proof that will matter to you where you live. Healing without handling. Again and again I have watched in my own life and in the lives of those who came to me that the condition did not yield to argument, to denial, to clever phrases. It yielded when the hush came. A fever that had scorched for days would, within moments of realized presence, cool without a single word addressed to it. A tangled ledger with figures that had the temerity to refuse addition would quietly balance itself after a sitting in which no one prayed for money. A relationship that had become like sand in the mouth would find a softness without any rehearsal of grievances after a period in which the only words were, "Father, thou art," and then silence. Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Not begged unto you, added. Additions do not argue, they follow. How? Because, friends, error has no law to stand on. It is 2 times 2 equals 5, chalked on the blackboard of sense. You can rub at it all day and raise a dust. You can debate with it and only make it bolder. Or you can bring in the one thing it cannot answer, light. When the light is on, 2 times 2 equals 4 stands of itself, and the false 5 is seen for what it is, marks without authority. You do not open a window to scoop out darkness with a pail. You let in light, and the darkness cannot argue, cannot linger, cannot present a claim. The light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. Comprehended it not, meaning could not grasp, could not hold. So in practice, when presence is realized, discord, which never had law, loses its borrowed costume. It cannot stand in the temple. The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. The earth is the whole parade of sense reports. Let them keep silence, not by gagging them, but by enthroning the one. Now, I must urge you as a brother who has made all the novice mistakes, do not break the silence to check the results. The farmer does not dig up the seed to see if the rootlets have decided to cooperate. The earth bringeth forth fruit of herself. First the blade, then the ear, after that the full corn in the ear. Of herself automatically, by law, without your peering. Consciousness shifts first. Evidence comes after. Sometimes it is a breath later, sometimes a day, sometimes longer. But do not push the river. Rivers move by their nature. Your part is to be still and know. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Stand still, not with arms folded in impatience, but with the restful certainty that presence is the only law where you stand. You will say, but can this be trusted? I have trusted it with my livelihood, with my body, with my reputation, and with my heart. There were months when, to the eye, nothing did me the courtesy of improving. And yet the interior tyrants, the fear of the body, the fear of the bank, the fear of the opinion of others, surrendered their passports at the border. And once fear ceased to be my God, the outer forms, as if embarrassed to be late, took their right places. You see? Life rearranged itself because consciousness had moved house. The same apartment, the same city, the same world, and yet not the same atmosphere. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, not by the renovating of your furniture. And when the mind, meaning awareness, was renewed by presence, the furniture of the day seemed to know where to stand. So let this be your confidence and your patience. One demonstration only, the realization of God's presence. Make that your sole business. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Liberty from the stopwatch of anxiety. Liberty from the craving to pry open doors that only open inward. Liberty from testing. Let speech cease until assurance comes. When it comes, keep walking in it, without glancing over your shoulder to see if it is following. It will. The adding will take care of itself. You need not push the river. You need not supervise the dawn. Consent to the light, and let error, which never had substance, lose the right to frighten you. And as this consent deepens, you will find yourself quietly saying, not as a theory, but as a witness, I still live, but not in the same atmosphere. And in that atmosphere, prayer finishes itself, and life, recognizing the new law of your being, arranges its shadows accordingly. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Therefore, be still and know. Now, we make this simple enough to live by and strict enough to change us. Take this as a rule, not a suggestion. At least 3 times a day upon waking, somewhere in the middle of the day and before sleep, sit in quietness until you feel, even faintly, the surging of spirit within you. Do not let your concern be for health or for supply or for the pleasing of any person. Let your concern be that before you rise, the inner atmosphere has altered, the hush has met you, the Amen has touched your heart. We are not going to try to do anything to it. We are not going to bargain or beg. We are going to bring the realization of God's presence to conscious awareness, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Time it not by minutes, but by assurance. If assurance is slow to come, sit simply and truthfully. If it seems not to come, do not be bluffed. Close with gratitude for God alone and return at the next hour. This is not ritual to curry favor. It is recognition. Be still and know that I am God. Now, when the day throws its sparks, when the phone startles with news, when the report frowns, when the ache speaks, add brief returns, 2 minutes in the hallway, 30 seconds at a window, 5 breaths at the sink, password, then silence. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Do not jam it against the circumstance as a lever. Speak it as a doorknob. Enter and hush. Pray without ceasing means precisely this rhythm, little turnings, frequent, unforced, that keep the needle pointed Godward. You will find that these small obediences save you hours of cleverness later. They are the difference between being drafted by the world's hurry and walking in a peace that does not court delay or rush. Each brief return is a vote for reality. It is you choosing atmosphere over argument. Now for your gratitude. Give up gratitude for healings. Give up gratitude for increased supply. Give up gratitude for any form of good that can be counted. Be grateful for God alone. Enter into his gates with thanksgiving. The gate is God. The thanksgiving is that God is. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. When the ledger brightens, whisper, Father, thou art, and stop there. When the pain eases, Father, thou art, and stop there. This is not ingratitude to human good. It is the ordering of loves. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth. If you notice that you have slid into thanking for outcomes, do not scold yourself, smile, release it, and return to the simplicity. Thank you for being you. Integrity requires that we do not pretend motives. If you catch yourself asking, please fix, please give, please hurry, acknowledge it as the old hypnotism. Let it pass like a cloud and turn again. Help thou mine unbelief, if you must say anything, and then be still. Remember, when you say, I'm not trying to get well, you have to mean it. If you cannot mean it yet, mean this: I choose God first, even while my fear talks. That honesty will open the door wider than pious phrases. Keep the rule kindly but firmly. Set the 3 sittings as you would set your meals, not as an imposition, but as the nourishment without which your hours grow thin. Make them inviolate and yet never tense. If you miss one, do not build a doctrine of failure. Return at the next appointed turning. Keep them short rather than skipped. Keep them real rather than ornate. Always, no petitions. Password, hush. Wait for assurance, or wait in faith if assurance is veiled. Close with gratitude for God, then rise and do the next ordinary thing softly. This is how prayer ceases to be an event and becomes the weather of a life. And now understand the communal grace of this. Your fidelity does not end at your skin. Every time you abide, you anchor liberty for others without speech. Ye are the light of the world. Lights do not argue with darkness, they shine. Sit to realize presence, and a room you never enter will be quieter because the world's air is one air. Sit to realize presence, and someone who meant to quarrel will forget their script. A clerk will be kind without reason. A child will sleep. Do not attribute, do not take credit. Only know that where 2 or 3 are gathered, in my name gathered in recognition, not in asking, there am I in the midst. Your practice is your ministry. Behind all discords is mass hypnotism. Behind your quiet is the dissolution of its pretense. We are not going to try to do anything to people. We are going to realize God, and in that realization, liberty appears as right words or right silence, as healing, or as courage, as union, or as release, in it but not of it. So let this stand as your daily law. 3 sittings, no petitions, password of freedom, gratitude for God alone, continual brief turnings in crisis, and an honest heart that returns to recognition whenever asking rises. Do this steadily, gently, and you will prove, not by argument but by atmosphere, that prayer begins where asking ends, and life of itself reorders under the government of I am. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Keep to that and walk softly. And now we let the words come to a stop and let the banner rise. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Take that not as a slogan to carry on a placard, but as the atmosphere under which you will walk out of this room and back into your phone calls and your kitchens and your accounting and your quiet evenings. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. This is our shibboleth, our password of freedom, our reminder that prayer begins where asking ends and life rearranges under presence, not under pressure. We have said it together often enough that it should now be more than syllables. It should be recognition. When you speak it only long enough to turn. Then hush, be still, and know that I am God. Let us seal our vow cleanly. We are not going to try to do anything to it. Not to the body, not to the bill, not to the person, not to the news. All we are going to do is bring to conscious awareness the realization of God's presence. And we will abide there until presence moves, until assurance, that interior amen, arises and renders words unnecessary. If it comes in a breath, we thank God. If it tarries, we thank God still and wait in faith. We are not trying to get well. We are not trying to get rich. We are not trying to get our way. We are consenting to God. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. When fear whispers its commands, we will not be bluffed. We will answer with our one authority, Father, thou art, then silence. Here again the promise that makes this not only beautiful but practical. My peace I give unto you, not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Not as relief for the nerves, not as a favorable report, not as someone finally understanding you. This is the peace that keeps, that guards, that garrisons the heart, the peace of God, which passeth all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. It is a peace that once tasted replaces vocabulary. You find yourself saying, it is finished, and meaning it not because the outer scene has yet saluted, but because the sense of a second power has left the room. Thou couldst have no power at all against me, except it were given thee from above. And above has been recognized here, now, where you stand. So go in quiet confidence, walk softly, pray without asking, recognize I am, recognize the living presence that is the life of your life, the law of your being, the breath of your breath. Let your gratitude rest in God alone. Keep to your rule, the 3 sittings, the brief turnings, the password and the hush. When the old hypnotism flares and you feel drafted into hurry or dread, stop even for 30 seconds and turn. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Enter that liberty and resume your doing, but now as one who is in it but not of it. Without argument, you will prove that the outer adds itself to the inner, first the blade, then the ear. Do not push the river. Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Let the blessing be simple. The Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee and give thee peace. And let it be immediate, not someday, not elsewhere, here, now, in your next step, in the ordinary thing you will do when you rise from your chair. Liberty abides where presence is realized. Therefore be still and know. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. Keep to that and rest. Thank you.